Today we're going to talk about camera and housing preparation, specifically if you have an upcoming trip or you're going on a dive vacation. Prior to going on your trip, set aside about an hour and a nice quiet location in the house to sit down and prepare your equipment. The last place to be preparing your camera equipment is actually on the boat on the way to your first dive site. So a nice quiet location, nice and clean table surface. Sit down and open the housing. First thing to do is to remove the O-ring. So with the back door of the housing open, if you hold your fingers about 1.5 inches apart and gently squeeze and pinch the O-ring, you'll find that it will pop away from the track and you'll be able to remove it easily. There are also purpose-built tools for this, or you can use the corner of a credit card just to ease the O-ring out of the track. With the O-ring now removed, inspect the track on the back door of the camera for any foreign matter or any damage. You're looking for cracks or any hairs that may have jumped in there. To clean the track, do not use a cotton bud. Use a piece of lint-free cloth or a lens cleaning cloth. Let's turn our attention now to the O-ring. We're going to clean the O-ring thoroughly and inspect it, make sure there's nothing on it. Look for damage, make sure there are no tears or nicks in the O-ring surface. You also need to look at the shape of the O-ring. Is it compressed? Has it been flattened? About every 2 years you should replace the O-ring on your camera. As the shape becomes distorted, the O-ring will become less efficient and eventually you will flood your camera. Also, there are many tiny O-rings on every control on the housing. They're a lot harder to change, and you should send your camera back to the manufacturer to have it serviced, like I said, every 2 to 3 years. Okay, it's now time to apply some O-ring grease and get the O-ring back into the housing. It's very important not to put too much grease onto the O-ring. What you want to do is put a little dab of grease in between your thumb and forefinger and then gently work that together and then apply a thin layer of O-ring grease to the O-ring, making sure that it's completely coated. One final visual inspection of the O-ring, make sure that it's clean and free of damage. We're going to reinsert it back into the channel, back into the track on the back door of the housing. Making sure that you don't stretch it, push it back into the track, run your finger all the way around, make sure it's inserted. And then with a final inspection to make sure no hairs have jumped on the back, you can now close the back door, and that's the O-ring serviced. Now that your O-ring is serviced, there's no need to redo this process for the entire length of your vacation. All you need to do is when you need to remove the camera from the housing, make sure that the housing's dry, open the back door, remove the camera quickly, and close the back door immediately. The more time you have the back door closed, the less likely it is that anything will jump on the O-ring. And again, for preparing the camera for the next day of diving, open the back door, put the camera back in, quickly visually inspect the O-ring, make sure that it's clean, run your finger around the O-ring entirely, and then close the back door again. It was fine last dive, you didn't remove it, and it'll be fine for the next dive. The other thing to check is batteries. Make sure you either take plenty of batteries with you. I highly recommend using rechargeables and have about 3 sets of them. And for every fresh day of diving, put a brand new set of batteries in the camera. You've paid a lot to get to your location. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to dive and take photographs. Why take the chance and dive with a half-charged set of batteries? The same applies for your storage card or your SD card on the camera. Either take plenty of them with you or have a laptop on hand so that at the end of every day you can download your pictures and start every day with a fresh storage card. You don't want to run out of space on your SD card while you're diving. Okay, your camera's ready to go. Let's do a quick watertight integrity test on the camera. Now, I recommend doing this initially with the camera not in the housing. So remove the camera, do your visual inspection of the O-ring, close the back door of the housing, and then just immerse the camera into a bathtub or a basin of water. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a small stream of bubbles coming from around the crack of the back door. Now, you will see bubbles coming from the housing. Obviously, there are lots of air spaces where air can be stored. What you're looking for is a constant stream of small bubbles. That's indicating that the camera is taking on water. Okay, after about 30 seconds or so, you've checked the camera, there's no bubbles. Bring the camera up out of the water, dry it off, open the back door, and make sure there's no water inside. If it's passed the test, you're ready to put the camera back in, and your camera's now ready for your vacation. Now, that same watertight integrity test you should do at the beginning of every dive. Once you've jumped in the water, the dive master's handed you the camera, before you descend, you should just have, take 30 seconds to look at the camera and make sure there are no bubbles coming from around the crack of that back door. Well, I hope this information's been helpful to you. Just follow these few simple tips and have a great photography experience next time you go diving.